4 months on the road and 4 months of condo bills back home. I finally sat down and figured out how much we've spent in these 4 months, and I gotta be honest, the number was just a little bit different than I expected. Hello, I'm Krista, and I'm on a quest to check off 1,000 bucket list adventures. But travel and bucket lists cost money. So at the halfway point of our 8-month trip, let's get real about what this actually costs. We spent almost 6 years living in our Grand Design 26-foot travel trailer full-time. My husband Garner and our fur baby Finny and I took last year off from RVing to settle into our new home base, which is a small 824 square foot condo outside of Las Vegas. Burnout is real, and we needed a place away from the road to recharge our batteries. But I wasn't done with the road. So we've been back on for 4 months, and we have 4 months to go. Now, I am not a credit card points counter or a coupon clipper. We live very normal middle-class lives, and I'm not here to tell you the cheapest way to do this. I'm a regular person who pays regular bills, but I do try to live life to the fullest, but within my financial means. I'm going to start by talking about our RVing costs, and then I'll talk about our condo costs that we are still paying even though we're not even there. Let's dive straight in. So as you'll see, here are the RV expenses. Now, we did leave in the middle of March, but I didn't keep track of how much we spent March 1st through the 14th. Plus, we did have to purchase items to get things ready for the RV. So this is the entire month of March, entire month of April, May, and June, and then up until the 15th of July, which is today. So here we have the groceries and household items as well as Costco. Now, groceries is, of course, our basics, our groceries, and then Costco is things like Kleenex and paper towels. We don't buy too much from Costco because obviously we can't fit very much in here. We basically have our Costco membership for the pizza, but we do get our paper towels and our Kleenex from Costco. So those are the expenses from Costco and our groceries. As you'll see, they kind of vary quite a bit. In March, we did completely empty out our fridge, and so we didn't buy any groceries until we were ready to stock the RV, and so we basically had to restock all of our provisions for the RV. So March is a little bit more expensive, which doesn't surprise me. And then July, we haven't spent very much money so far because we had a lot of leftovers. We were camping with my parents for a couple of weeks, and we had a lot of leftovers from when we were with them. So we haven't really done too much of grocery shopping in July, but that's pretty average. We try to spend between $300 and $400. When we're on the road, it seems to be a little bit more, mostly because we end up having to go to like mom and pop small markets if we're in a small town, and those items tend to be a little bit more expensive. So groceries, Costco, not super exciting, but a necessity. Entertainment, as you'll see, we definitely spent some money on entertainment, but in March I did sit down and purchase a bunch of tours and tickets and things like that for our RV trip, and so March is a little bit higher just because I did sort of start purchasing that stuff, but some of those events were for April and May. And to be honest, I don't think we've spent that much on entertainment. I thought it would have been more than that because we do a lot of stuff. We've done helicopter rides and UTVing and boat cruises and lots of things like that. So entertainment is actually not too bad. That's a little lower than I expected it to be, and I'm okay with that. Eating out is something that we definitely are trying to scale back on. We love to try out local mom and pop places when we're visiting somewhere, but eating out has gotten really expensive. So that is a little bit of a higher cost than I would like. I try to keep that around $500 a month, but as you will see, not doing a very good job at keeping it under that. Gasoline is again something that is super expensive right now. Unfortunately, the gas prices have gone up. They've gone back down, but when we first hit the road, they were over $5 a gallon for diesel. That was definitely an expense, and we're driving a lot more than we usually do. I would say when we're back in Las Vegas and we just have my husband's Challenger, we probably spend about $100 to $150 a month in gas. And when you got a diesel truck and you're driving all over the country, it adds up. We're only halfway into our trip. We've already spent over $2,000, so that's pretty high. Starlink, total necessity. I will spend every penny on Starlink, and I love it. By the way, if you were thinking about getting Starlink and you want your first month free, be sure to check the link in my description. You can get 1 month free, and that will save you $175. It used to be $165, but it decided to go up in June because evidently Elon Musk isn't making enough money as the richest man in the world. So it has gone up $10 from May to June, and so now we are paying $175 a month for Starlink, but we love it. I'm not going to complain about it because it has worked every single place that we've been. and that was definitely an investment that we're happy that we made. So miscellaneous is a little bit higher than I expected, and this is all the things that just sort of don't go into a category. And so if we buy like souvenirs or books from the bookstore, things like that, that tends to go into the miscellaneous section. I probably need to work on scaling back on that. I don't know what happened in April. It got expensive. Finny doesn't usually cost us very much. Her food, we already had a big bag of food. Her litter, we already had a big bag of litter. We do buy her treats, and we get those when we're at Target or Walmart. And so that usually just ends up being in the groceries and household items category. This month, because we have hit a bit of a heat wave, we did buy 3 cooling mats, of which she only decides to lay on sometimes. But we did buy several cooling mats to keep her nice and comfortable and put them in her favorite places to try and keep her a little bit cooler in this heat wave. Vehicle, RV maintenance and repairs. If you're an RVer, you have to have a slush fund for these types of things. Wasn't too bad for most of the time, except last month we had to purchase new tires for our truck, as well as do a massive brake overhaul on the trucks, get them all back and going, because I don't know, tires and brakes are kind of important, I'm told. Always want to make sure you have a little bit of a slush fund, because RVing can absolutely have these big expenses that are large and they can happen when you don't expect them to. We spent a nice chunk of money on that, but other than that, knock on wood, our vehicle and maintenance repairs haven't been too bad. Cash is just cash that we take out of the bank, and it can go over from one month to the next. And that's usually money that's spent like tipping people from tours, or sometimes there's some places that charge you like a percentage of a fee if you pay with your credit card. And we don't like to pay that, and so we'll have cash to be able to pay for that without having to pay that credit card upcharge. That seems to be like a new thing nowadays. Now I want to talk about our RV parks, because that is the biggest ticket on our bill, and I book our RV parks months and months in advance, and I try every time to book to pay in advance, so that I am not having to pay each month we're on the road that entire RV park bill. So for example, if I'm booking March and April from this trip, I probably booked that like September, October of last year, and I tried to pay then so that it would break up the amount that we were having to pay when we were actually on the road. Now, some RV parks let you pay in advance. They're happy to take your money in advance, and some you just don't pay until you get there, or you pay a part of it and then you pay the remainder when you get there. And so when you see these numbers, we are not coming out of pocket for the entire amount for that month. It is probably about 60% already paid for in the many, many months before we even hit the road. So let's look at our RV park numbers, and it is a little bit surprising. In March, it was about right. I mean, that was for half the month. Remember, we were only on the road from March 15th till now. So that's about $1,250 for half a month. Not bad. April, that's pretty typical. We usually have about $2,000 that we spend a month. I try to budget between $2,000 and $2,500. RV parks have gotten more expensive. Since 2020 happened, unfortunately, the costs have just gone up and RV parks are more expensive. May, not too bad. That's actually pretty good. Really happy with May. That's wonderful. Now, June was our highest, and that's because we spent a week in Bozeman and a week in Billings, Montana, and they were just more expensive. And so that's why June is quite a bit higher, because 2 of those 4 weeks we were in very high ticket places. So you can do this way cheaper for sure. This is just how we choose to travel, and that's just what it's costing us. And now you'll see in July, we've only been here for 15 nights. Tonight is the 15th night, so I already factored that in. But as you'll see, now here we've got all of the nights, and our average cost per night is probably about $70 a night for the entire 4.5 months. That's probably a pretty good average. But you can definitely RV for cheaper. I am not saying this is the only way to do it. This is how much it's going to cost you. This is just how much it costs us. And then the only last line item is our medical insurance. Now, we did get new medical insurance in April, which brought the cost down quite a bit. Now we do pay $254.01 a month for medical insurance. So those are the expenses, and I added it all up. And you'll see the total for 4.5 months, because I did count the first half of March, is almost $29,000. That's 137 nights, and that averages out to $211.18 per day. This is only our RVing costs. Now we're going to talk about our condo costs. So here's our condo expenses. We do have our auto and our condo insurance rolled up into one, and I don't know how much is which. And so each month we pay about $240 for coverage of 2 vehicles and our insurance for our condo. We also have a storage unit. It's a small storage unit. It's a 5x10. My husband is a musician and he has a million instruments. So that is an air-conditioned unit in the area that we live that we can access. Verizon bill, that is something we pay whether we're on the road or not. And it kind of fluctuates a little bit. Now we're at about $117.02 a month. Cox Internet. Now this is an interesting thing. So our internet at home is Cox at the condo, but they do have a seasonal turnoff available where we pay $74 a month if we are home. But when we go on the road, I can turn that off and it is only $13 a month. When we get home, we'll turn off Starlink and turn Cox back on, and we'll just be paying that $74 a month again for Cox. So that's our internet. Condo maintenance and repairs, we haven't been there. As of right now, we don't have any payments for that while we're on the road, but there will be when we get back. We also have 2 HOAs, and one is $75 a month and one is $305 a month. So we pay $380 a month for HOAs for our condo that we aren't in right now. So whether we're in it or not, we're still paying that. It takes care of all of our exterior maintenance. So we're gone for 8 months out of the year. We don't have to clip any trees. We don't have to mow any lawns. We don't have to take care of any bug control. All of that is taken care of. Next is electric. I have it set up on a program where we just pay the same amount every single month and it adjusts every 6 months. Gas is the same thing. We aren't using gas right now, obviously, but I do have it set up on a program where we only pay a certain amount each month, no matter what. So we started at 18, it's dropped to 17, now it's dropped to 15 because obviously we're not there. And so those are the gas expenses. So those are our condo expenses when we are not at home. And as you'll see, that adds up to $4,222.95. 137 nights, that is about $30.82 a day. That's really not too bad. That is on top of our RV expenses, and I'm gonna get all those numbers here in a second. And so there are a few expenses that I don't have factored into here, and that's just because they vary so much and they're not recurring expenses. So things like other travel. I'm doing several international trips next year. I'm doing one at the end of this year, and those are expenses that just vary completely depending on where I wanna go and what I'm doing and how much money I have to spend on that. So other travel, I don't factor into here. Allowances, Garner and I each have an allowance that we get each month. It's just sort of personal spending money. I don't have medical or dental in here, not because we're not paying our insurance. We're paying our medical insurance, but we get our teeth cleaned before we leave and then when we get back. And we haven't, knock on wood, had any medical situations where we've had to pay any medical bills. But of course that would be in there whether we were at home or on the road and we had a medical situation. That's just an expense that we would have to pay. I also don't have taxes and tax prep. Obviously that sucks and that made April really sting hard, but it's again, just a 1 month thing and it varies completely every year. I don't have my business expenses in here. I don't put that in here because that varies completely, and that also is a completely different bank account that is my business, and so that's not really factor into our RV life or our condo life. That's my personal business life, and so I didn't put that in here. I also didn't put camera gear in here. This year I did upgrade to a new camera, a Sony mirrorless, which I am loving, but that is again an expense that is just completely varying and is not something I would normally do. So those are expenses that are not in here, but I have one more thing to show you, and that is our yearly expenses. So things that we only pay once a year, but they do matter for RV life or condo life. Yearly, we have RV insurance. Ours is only $136 a year, which is amazing, and that's a big reason why we got a travel trailer, because we don't have an engine or a motor or anything like that that needs to be maintained. So the RV insurance is way cheaper for a tow behind travel trailer than it would be for like a Class A or a Class C. Truck registration, we of course have to pay that every year. That I think we pay in January, but it is an expense that is part of our RV life because we only use the truck when we're on the road. Property taxes, we have a condo, and so we have to make sure that we pay our property taxes, and that is a large yearly expense that we have to factor in. Mailbox rental, we pay once a year, $241.50, and then credit card yearly fees. We have 2 credit cards and they both have yearly fees, which I'm thinking about possibly changing credit cards because I hate paying those yearly fees. And so you'll see that I've added up what our yearly expenses are. 365 days is $593 a day times our 137 days we're on the road. So that's spending about $812.41 on top of those other expenses. Now, before I give you these final numbers, there's a few things that I want to make sure that you understand. We do not have a mortgage on our condo. We did purchase it cash, so we don't have a mortgage. We don't have any car payments. We've paid all of those off, and so we don't have any car payments. We don't have children other than Finney, and I know children are supposed to be kind of expensive, so that also saves us money. And we also don't have any student loans. I know those are expenses that a lot of people have to factor into their budget, but to be transparent, We don't have any of those. And that's because we've worked really hard to pay all of that stuff off, buy our condo outright, so that we didn't have to deal with any of that. So now we have our final numbers. Are you ready? Our RV expenses was just under $29,000. Condo expenses was a little over $4,000. Those yearly expenses factored in for just the 137 days that we've been on the road so far. And then the grand total is just under $34,000. So we're at $33,966.66. 137 nights, that puts us at about $250 a day times 30 days. So we're looking at about $7,437.90 per month when we're on the road. That is what our expenses are. Now, I know you can do this way cheaper, but I'm being fully transparent because people have asked me, is it affordable? Is it cheaper? That is what part-time RVing for us costs. We're on the road half the year, we're still paying those condo expenses. And then when we're off the road, we're still paying our truck registration, our insurance for our travel trailer. So we still have those expenses when we're off the road. It's not cheap, but honestly, it is a life that I love. I wouldn't give up for anything, and totally worth it for me. So there you go. Those are the numbers that we're spending on being part-time RVers. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions about being a part-time or full-time RVer, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to help answer them. This is just our experience and our bills and our life and how we've set things up. You can absolutely do this cheaper. You can also do it for a lot more money. So I feel like we're kind of in the middle of cost. I am not going to give up this life for anything. I'm going to continue to travel in some way, in some fashion, for as long as I can and can afford it. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, please consider clicking subscribe. I would love to have you come along on this adventure. I am about to launch a very large RVing for Beginners series where I break down everything from how to choose a rig to campground etiquette to booking campgrounds. I'm going to cover everything every Saturday for the next probably 30 plus weeks. Love to have you along for that. So don't forget to click subscribe. Normally at the end of all of my videos, I have a knitting or crochet tip, but it is too hot to be wearing a hat. So I have a video of me knitting in Iceland, which is where I'm mentally at right now when it's warm like this. Be sure to check out this video right here. It is an RVing for Beginners video that answers a lot of questions and is sort of an introduction to what my series is going to be. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next adventure. Bye. My foot fell asleep. Ow.